All right, today we are diving deep into one of Kyoto's most incredible and honestly, most exclusive cultural experiences, the Kamogawa Odori dance. Think of this less like a travel guide and more like your secret playbook for doing it right. So let's get into it. You've seen these lanterns, right? They're all over Instagram, all over the travel blogs. But what's really going on behind them? Well, they light up an alley that has this incredible story. Part crazy engineering, part economic survival, and a whole lot of breathtaking art. We're going to uncover all of that right now.
So first, let's get our bearings. We're in Pontocho. It's one of Kyoto's 5 historic hanamachi, which is, a geisha district. But the beauty of this alley, well, it hides a really surprising origin story.
I know it sounds crazy, but before 1670, this entire district didn't exist. It was just the Kamo River. Seriously. It took this massive engineering project to reinforce the riverbanks, and in the process, they created this brand new sliver of land basically from scratch. What started as a muddy riverbed was about to become the stage for something truly vital to Kyoto's culture.
And that brings us to the performance itself, the Kamogawa Odori. Now, this is not just some pretty show put on for tourists. This whole thing was born out of pure desperation, and it ended up being this brilliant strategic move that basically helped save the city's soul.
So here's the key. Picture this. It's 1872, and Kyoto is in a full-blown crisis. The emperor just moved the capital to Tokyo, and he took all the city's prestige and a lot of its money with him. So, in this incredibly bold move, the city leaders decided to open up the geisha dances, which had always been super exclusive and private, to the general public, for the first time ever. And guess what? It worked. The spectacle brought people flooding back to Kyoto. It worked so well that they eventually built a dedicated theater for it in 1927, where the tradition carries on to this day.
And this analogy just nails it. It's perfect. When Kyoto lost its political power, it could have just faded into the background. But instead, Pontocho doubled down on the one thing that made it absolutely unique: its insane commitment to the highest level of traditional arts. And that quality, that excellence, that became its new reason for being.
Okay, history lesson over. Now for the good stuff. This is your playbook. We're going to talk about the practical, insider advice you need to avoid the common mistakes that trip up, well, almost everybody else. I'm telling you, almost every visitor makes at least one of these 3 mistakes, and any single one of them can seriously mess with what should be a totally unforgettable experience. But not you, because we're going to walk through every single one. And the stakes are really high here. I mean, take this visitor from California. The first time she went to Kyoto, she completely missed the show. The next year, she planned her entire trip around it, and she said it was worth every single extra yen. That's the huge difference that proper planning makes.
Let's start with the big one. Mistake number 1 is waiting to book your tickets. People see the show runs for almost the whole month of May, and they figure, I'll just grab tickets when I get there. Wrong. The reality is the good seats, the special seats, are gone within days, sometimes even hours of going on sale. You'll either get stuck with a terrible view, or way more likely, you'll get no tickets at all.
So get out your phone, open your calendar, whatever you need to do. Here is the most important date you need to know. April 4th at 10 a.m. Japan Standard Time. That is when tickets go on sale online. And listen, this isn't a suggestion. If you want good seats for this, you have to be ready on that exact date at that exact time.
All right, mistake number 2 is expecting a Broadway-level experience with, full English translations. What you get is a printed program with a very basic summary of the story. And that's it. If you spend the whole performance trying to match every little gesture to a sentence in that pamphlet, you are going to miss the magic. The real key is to just let go, sit back, and appreciate this thing for what it is: visual poetry.
And finally, mistake number 3. And this one is what separates the tourists from the travelers. Please don't treat this like just a trip to the theater. If you see the show and then immediately leave the area, you've missed the entire point of the district. Pontocho really comes alive after the sun goes down. From May to September, restaurants build these temporary wooden platforms out over the Kamo River. They're called yucca. Having dinner on one of those is the other, absolutely essential half of the Pontocho experience. So now you've got the playbook. Let's pull the curtain back just a little bit further and talk about some of the details that are going to make watching the show even richer for you. Knowing what you're looking at transforms you from just a spectator into, an informed observer.
First up, a really crucial distinction you're going to see on stage. A maiko is an apprentice. She's usually a teenager, and you can spot her by the more elaborate hairstyle, which uses her own real hair. A geiko, on the other hand, is a fully professional artist. She's older, her makeup is a bit more subtle, and she wears a wig, which is a sign of her professional status.
So you might be wondering, where does Pontocho fit into the whole Kyoto cultural scene? Well, its main rival is the Gion district. The performance in Gion is a little pricier and is traditionally seen as having the highest prestige. Pontocho, though, has way more showtimes, and it's known for a slightly more modern, dynamic style of dance, which makes it a really unique alternative.
Okay, here are a few more little insider details. When you get to the theater, look up at the roof for the gargoyle. It's actually a bugaku mask, and it's there to ward off evil spirits. The show itself is in two parts. First, a story-driven drama, and then a big finale of just pure dance. And really listen for the live music. It's less about a catchy melody and more about punctuating the dancer's movements. Oh, and the no photography rule? Trust me, it's a gift. It forces you to actually be there, in the moment.
So with all of this information on the table, we get to the final and honestly, the most important question. Should you actually go? Let's be real about who this experience is for and who it isn't for. Look, this might not be your thing if you're expecting a clear, dramatic story with big plot twists. The dance is all about subtle expression. It's also not a budget activity for sure. And this is a huge one. It only happens from May 1st to the 24th. And if you have young kids with you, a quiet, 90-minute performance is probably going to be a tough sell. And this brings us to what might be the most critical point of all. Your ticket, it's so much more than just paying for entertainment. The training to become a geiko takes years and is incredibly expensive. These public performances are the main way the geisha houses, the okiya, fund themselves. Your ticket is a direct investment in keeping this entire cultural ecosystem alive. Which really brings us to the final thought. Asking, is it worth it, is kind of the wrong question. That frames you as just a consumer. The real question is, are you the kind of traveler who values the chance to be part of a living, breathing tradition? To support it, even just as an observer. A tradition that, frankly, might not exist without people like you. And if the answer is yes, well, you know what you need to do on April 4th.